Hi, and welcome to yet another episode of Shift Podcast, where we talk to people that come from different backgrounds and sharing their stories about overcoming their own comfort zones and their own internal BS to really kind of reach their potential. And frankly speaking, I just really enjoy speaking with people and learning about their stories. And I'm really, really excited to have Ana Toroman with me today. So Ana is actually the founder of HR Wellbeing-Online program. She's also a talent development. She's a curious individual that has had very interesting experience in her life. And I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit more. Welcome, Ana.
Same here, and thank you, Elena. Thank you for inviting me here today. Thank you, everyone, for your time and being here with us as well. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for this introduction. Yes.
Great. So let's just set a little bit of context. So you have quite an interesting story to tell based on just kind of your background. So, and I just want the people to get an idea of who is Ana and how did you get started in your career? And then we're going to go into more into what you're doing today. So give us a little bit of a background setting.
Yeah, I see. I'm coming from Serbia, from Belgrade, actually. And right now I'm in Dubai, and I've been here for past 9 years, almost 10 years, where I'm working as an HR development consultant as well and Mandarin teacher. So I'll tell you a bit more about my experience as we progress. But basically, I grew up in Belgrade, Serbia. It's where I was educated. Then I lived in China a bit and back to Serbia, and now here in Dubai. Kind of briefly.
Yeah, and I think same story for all of us in Dubai. We want to come for a little bit, work, and then it becomes home, and then we never want to leave. So it's nice, and it brings really, really such a multiple different people from everywhere, and you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Dubai is a mix of so many nationalities here. It's a home to over 100-something nationalities here. And being an expat here, I didn't know what to expect when I first came here. And my initial plan was to stay 1 year. And here I am.
That's for all of us. Yeah. So listen, I'm really curious. So you grew up in Serbia, and then you said one day, you're like, you know what, I think I'm just going to go to China and learn Mandarin. Did you learn Mandarin before? And then you were teaching it? Like, tell me a little bit about that, because I feel that is a big shift. Why China? Why Mandarin? Like, out of, everything that you could have kind of explored, Why did you choose that?
Thank you. I know it comes as a little bit confusing part with my background coming from Serbia and how come Chinese and HR. But the thing is that I was studying Mandarin back in Belgrade. So it was my major. And I actually started when I was 15 years old. And I fell in love with the language itself. And I realized that by staying in Belgrade, Serbia, no matter how long you're going to study it, it's never going to be enough that you're going to be able to actually speak that language. Right. So I decided to go to China when I was in the last year of my studies at the university. So I went there for 1 year studying. So that's what it is. And to be honest, when I moved there, it was in my 20s. I didn't know much about living there. How is the life going to be before? Of course, we did learn a bit about culture and philosophy and everything else, but that was quite a new experience for me.
Yeah, I bet. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself being there, just being in a different country, I guess, at the young age?
Well, it was the first time that I was living on my own, I can say. So when you spend time apart from your family and your comfort zone, you get to learn mostly about yourself through learning through different cultures. And that's what I got to experience there in China. But the reason I went there, I had a clear goal, and that was to be able to actually speak the language. So I had a clear goal in mind that I tried to break into smaller little goals that I was focused on during that year. And I always like to say that was one of the best years in my life, spending a year there. Yes.
Nice. And so you did that, and then what brought you to Dubai then? Because I think that's another shift that you've done. So it seems like you did a couple of them. And how did you end up now? Because now you're focused more on working with organizations and resilience building and just that well-being piece. And I want to get into that in a little bit, but set us the scene a little bit about how did you come to Dubai?
Right. Well, coming to Dubai was, again, I can say like a step out of my comfort zone at that time. But this time I came here to work. And I took a job as a flight attendant in one of the most dynamic airlines here in the region. And it seemed to have everything that I wanted at that time. I wanted to travel. I wanted to experience other cultures. I was very curious. I wanted to get myself new opportunities work-wise. So I took this job and I came here, and that's when the adventure started, basically. Can I tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, please. I would love to hear. Yes, please.
So okay, basically, I was in Serbia at the time and left another HR job that I had at the moment to come and work here. And I would like to share why I find this experience one of the most valuable ones, as I can say, like life experiences, basically, because coming here and having this job, it required having a different lifestyle. It comes with a certain lifestyle, so it's not just a job. It was much more to it than that. So basically, every time that you come to work as a flight attendant, first, you don't know who you're going to be working with. So you're meeting the team of people that can be like 20 to 30 people every time, and it's just a couple of hours before your flight. Mm-hmm. And then you get to be in 2 or 3 different parts of the world in a week. So then you're meeting around hundreds of people on board that you're possibly going to be interacting with. And when you start your flight, by the end of the day, you don't know how is your day going to look like. And combinations are countless, like from having my breakfast in Dubai, then going to maybe dinner in Hamburg, then weekend in Casablanca. And that's all in 1 week, and so on. So that's why I'm saying it's more than a job. It was basically a change of a lifestyle. And that's why I value this experience much, because it's a great job to actually build your grit and to learn resilience firsthand, and to get to learn more about yourself, because you're under constant change of schedule, working hours, sleeping patterns, meeting new people, meeting your team, your passengers, right? So then you also realize that it's all happening under, I can say, constant time pressure. Mm-hmm. And then you learn those time management skills and techniques that can help you go through it, because that's one of the most important skill that you need to have as well. Yeah. But also why I like it so much and why I like talking about it, it's because you learn all sorts of those interpersonal skills that are so valuable to me in my personal life. And why? Because I got to practice them on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And that's the best experience. I think anyone who has ever worked in customer service would agree with me that apart from those communication skills, conflict resolution skills, body language, name it, you just learn so much about people. So that's why I found it so valuable. And we are talking about over 120 nationalities there. So they worked for, we had like people from 15 different nationalities every flight. So you learn a lot from others.
Listen, I mean, for sure, the whole customer service experience in general, particularly for flight attendants as well, is so underrated. It's, and it's interesting because, I mean, obviously with what has happened, the airline industry has suffered, and there's been a lot of flight attendants that were out of work and were just kind of looking to change their careers. And I think just organizations of, HR and people understood the value of what you just described, of what is it that you learn, because just adaptability, flexibility, all of these things are so valid, and you can take them anywhere, and not everybody has them. Not everybody has the ability to be adaptable, to be so kind of go with the flow, right? To be able to manage your time, the different time zones, dealing with people, managing your own emotions, because I'm sure there's days on that flight that you are not in the mood for customers, right? And not everybody's pleasant on the flight. So and I think it's so underrated, honestly, this experience. And interestingly enough, I think it was the World Economic Forum, they said that by 2025, some of the top skills, so there's like 10 top skills, and 3 of those are resilience, flexibility, adaptability, creativity. So there's a lot of soft skills that are now required for the future. And that is exactly what that experience has given you. And again, if you just go directly into the corporate world, it doesn't always give you that. So, and I think just in any customer service industry, but I think particularly for flight attendants, that just takes it to a whole different level. I always say everybody should work in customer service, some kind of, whether it's restaurant business, hospitality, flights. I've done all the above, and I can tell you a lot of the things I know today when it comes to working with people is I give credit to those opportunities that I did, earlier on, because you learn so much about yourself and people, and just how business, business is about people at the end of the day. So how business happens, and the earlier you can learn these skills, the better it is. I think everybody should put their kids through these sort of things, especially like the younger the better, in my opinion.
Absolutely, Elena, absolutely. It's what I just like to say. Before you get some serious, maybe your long-term job that you're going to be having later on, it's super important to gain some experience in customer service, because that's where you learn about people most, and about yourself as well. Because I remember one of the first days in our training, in the training college for the airline that we had, when they asked us this, what do you think you're going to be gaining most out of this experience, and what do you think, what skills are going to be most valuable to you? And we didn't know what to say. We were thinking maybe time management, maybe culture, maybe some other. They said people. Yeah. You will know people after this. And they were so right. And I didn't understand it much at that time, because I didn't know how it's going to look like. But yes, definitely, it's very clear that it is. So I appreciate that experience working in customer service. And I worked for a couple of years as a flight attendant. And then I moved on to HR and Mandarin, where I started first, I can say, because HR was my first job when I was in Belgrade, so I just went back to it. But yes, definitely it was a good
I'm sure it gave you a lot of sort of things to work with when you went from that, from being a flight attendant to HR. I think with just a completely different understanding of people and how to work with individuals and organizations. And I'm really curious. So I do want to ask you a couple more questions around you're doing something different, because you are in this HR, talent development, well-being, and resilience building space, but then also you teach Mandarin to kids, and it's so interesting. So I'm just curious. Well, let's just start with this HR well-being piece. Like how, I guess, what drove you to especially focus on resilience and well-being, and why do you feel like this is so essential for organizations essentially?
Elena, I think all of this that we just mentioned, and as I said, I started my career in HR. So although it was a bit demanding role for me at that time, I must say, so it was just after coming back from China and getting my real, full-time job. I got a job as an HR and office manager, and it was challenging, but still I took it, and somebody took a chance on me. It's where I got to learn about everything that I stand for in business nowadays, and for ethics, and for positive leadership, and about trust in business, about engaging your employees in a positive way. So, and it's true that these first experiences shape us. So I just need to say this to whoever is watching, listening, and is maybe at the beginning of their career stage, to be mindful of their first jobs and who they work with. I'm not talking about the job role. I'm talking about the leaders who are leading them, because these people are going to be shaping your future leadership style. And I hope that it's going to be something that is matching your values as well. I was so happy and fortunate to actually learn from a leader that I learned all those lessons that I took away with me nowadays, that I implemented in these courses, and I will get to it. So why I started this HR and well-being training. First, because I believe that work doesn't need to suck. Mm-hmm. So I really believe in that. And I wanted to create a program for any working professional, for employees who are looking to build their skills, the one that they need if they're working in the fast-paced environment, in multicultural environment, as I did, where you need to have all sets of skills, from business skills, practical ones, to interpersonal skills, and that it's a lot on us, on ourselves, that we can do a lot more and learn. So it's on organizations, but it's on employees as well. So especially, I believe, resilience that I got to learn as well. I embedded it heavily in this program because I think it's necessary for everybody, not just for leaders, although I believe that resilience in leadership nowadays is crucial. But this training is meant to support anyone, and of course my HR fellows, professionals with other HR services too, just to build those skills that they can be successful and not to feel this stress of demanding workplaces, and if they're unsure how to handle these workplace battles.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I love what you said. You said work doesn't have to suck. I agree. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No,
it does not. It doesn't. And you're spot on with the well-being resilience piece, because I was actually talking to to a couple of people actually around this topic. So one was Mark Metry. I had him on the podcast just not too long ago, and we were talking about how when it comes to just feeling well overall and enjoying what you do, so much of it is not just kind of doing the actual job, but so much of it is that well-being piece, is being able to build that resilience, is being able, it's what you eat, it's what you consume, but a big part of it is that almost the physical well-being as well. So if we're just able to take care of ourselves, right, and be more clear about what do we need to be at our best in terms of our physical well-being and mental well-being. So if we're able to tackle those two things, then we're much more clear about other aspects of our lives. Because if we're eating like crap food, we're watching crap TV, and we're surrounded in crap circles, it's very difficult to actually focus and say, let me have a fulfilling career and let me go for this X, Y, and Z, because you're just in survival mode. A lot of times you don't even realize it. So not to go into the rabbit hole of all that, but I hope it makes sense. And I think that's where that well-being and resilience, because also resilience, when you're able to have that resilience, then you're able to bounce back from whatever obstacles. And a lot of those can be in your career. So I really think it's like everything. I don't know how still some organizations don't see like that's the meat of it all when it comes to making sure your people perform and thrive and, happy, whatever that means, right, to everybody. But interesting. So how do you go ahead. Yeah.
I love how you explained all of this, because, but I have to say, I'm happy to see that more and more organizations are becoming aware and understanding the importance of well-being. And as you said yourself, Elena, it's a balance. It's not one thing that you can do that you say, I have all these skills and I'm going to be great at my job. Well-being is balance. And I believe in PERMA model of well-being from Dr. Seligman, because it composes our physical health and our mental health. So we can talk about well-being all day long, and both you and me, you're not going to get into there, but it is definitely a lot more than what people think. When you think of well-being, building resilience practices, if you like it, but living it and embedding it in your daily life, in your daily habits. You know a lot about building habits as you are a trainer yourself. It's all on us as well. There is a lot that we can do to help ourselves, whatever the conditions are. And let's say you're in a job and you don't like some parts and bits of your jobs, and that's normal. But I think that the most misconception that people might have is work sucks because I don't like what I do, and then it's okay, and it has to suck. And then you get into that mode of complaining and getting deeper into that. However, it's not true, because once you start working on a job that you love and pursuing your dreams and goals, you're still gonna feel that discomfort over certain things. It doesn't mean that everything is so easy and everything is so smooth and shiny. Especially when you start your business, you understand that. So it's a lot of discomfort, but you just don't think of it. You just do it because you have your clear goal, what you want to accomplish. Why are you in this job? Why are you doing it? For how long you're going to be doing it. So it was me living in China. I had a clear goal that I want to learn Mandarin to be able to actually speak it. So you have a goal, something that you're focused on. So power of focus is super important here as well. The positive focus on the things that are getting you through. And from all the research and everything that we know, that's one of the cornerstone of resilience itself. The right focus on the positive, something that keeps you going, finding your purpose, if you like. But that's it. But in organizations, when we talk about resilience, what we actually talk about for well-being is basically positive communication, strategic talent build, positive leadership, engaging employees. It's more than some practices such as meditation, yoga, and whatever that we see generally being offered as a package of practicing well-being nowadays.
Yeah, I see putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg when we start throwing like
that's it.
yoga, a membership to our employees. We're just ticking the box and say, okay, we did that for them. But it's not enough, as both of us know. You mentioned something. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't deal with the source of the problem, these are not going to be that relevant.
The root cause. Yeah, you mentioned something interesting. You were saying, at some point we just get used to the fact that our job sucks, and somehow it became the norm. And this goes back to also, and again, it's all really about the mindset and your environment, because what happens is, when you're in a surrounding where everybody equally doesn't like what they do. I mean, statistically, we know this from, so many different reports, like 70% of the working global force doesn't enjoy their job, right? And to me, it's just mind-boggling. Like in today's age and day of access to information, access to opportunities, and now with everything being remote, we need to normalize actually enjoying what you do. And as you said, it doesn't have to be 100% of the time, but let's aim for 85. Like that's my aim. Like let's do 85, because even when you have your own business, you're not going to always enjoy. I don't like Excel sheets, and I don't want to do reports. My business partner knows this. It drains me. I hate it. I hate doing it. But at the end of the day, that's like such a small part, and it's just part of the game. But it, like you said, it really is in our kind of hands. And sometimes that journey is going to look very different for people. Sometimes that change requires 2 months, sometimes 2 years, sometimes 10 years. But as you also rightfully said, if you focus on the goal and you just go these mini steps towards that goal, you're just leaving whatever you're experiencing behind and moving forward and being very future focused, solution focused. That's where it's at. And as human beings, we are made to strive for something. We're made to keep going and keep learning new things. This is how we energize, right? So, and motivation doesn't work on its own, but having this small wins along the way, if we're able to just understand how powerful that is, and once you start, you become almost addicted to it, and then that's it, it's natural, and then you just keep going, and you love the whole process of it. So yeah, it's just, to me, I mean, it's we need to normalize being fulfilled at work. We need to normalize loving what we do, instead of 70% of the population thing, or 75% of the workforce just completely disengaged, and somehow, and it's been like this for years, report after report, year after year. So it's a problem. It's a problem, but I'm glad people like yourself and some of the work that we're doing as well with Western are addressing some of these and providing solutions. I went down the rabbit hole again. I know.
No, you haven't. You actually wrapped up basically what we're talking here. Super important points, Elena. Thank you for explaining it as well in these details. Work doesn't need to suck, but it doesn't mean that you're going to love every part of it. It's okay. But the point is, people are not used to discomfort, I think. And once they start thinking and analyzing what this job means, or if you leave that country and move there, what you're going to be missing, it's also very important on what you're focusing on. And I want to say, be focused on your goal and break it into smaller goals, how to achieve it, be focused on the positives, and just accept that discomfort is part of the journey. That's life, basically. You cannot get away from it. And that's it. Just do it. There is no other way around. But if you don't want to learn, nobody can help you. And I understand that it's not always easy, and that we don't always know what we want to do, that we have clear goals and everything during all the phases of our life. And it's okay. And it's okay not to know, but as long as you know that every day you're doing something that you're enjoying, that you're pursuing your dream, as you said, small wins are super important, small steps, as long as you don't get discouraged on the way and lose your focus.
And even if you do, you just get right back into it. So
just get right back into it.
Acknowledge it and get right back into it.
Yes.
Listen, I want to ask you, because I think there's so much that we can learn from kids. And I love it that you, not only are you, transforming organizations and really trying to embed that resilience and well-being piece and individuals that are working professionals, but also you're teaching kids mentoring, which I think is amazing on its. I mean, I admire any teachers in general, just for the patience and the passion that they have for the young generations. But I'm curious, what has been the most rewarding part of that journey, and what would you say we can learn from kids?
As you just said, and you used exactly what's my major reason here, and what I want to say about kids is that curiosity. What I enjoy most is that I can learn from them too, and I can see the life from their perspective and being exposed to it. Their kindness, I can say, and their just readiness to learn. And yes, I've been teaching over thousands of children so far from all different nationalities. Mandarin is still a big part of my life, so I do teach it throughout the primary year groups now, to non-natives, of course. And children are amazing. So no matter what subject we are here to teach them at school, they're teaching us as well so many lessons in life. Sure. If you just open yourself to it, you will see it. But one of the most important thing is, I think, curiosity. And that's the reason why we always say children absorb so much, because they're curious, because they're open to new things, what you mentioned. And children, we were like that as children, and we probably lost it somewhere on the way because our parents maybe thought we were too annoying.
But they shut us down every time we ask too many whys. The why? You run out of answers after a while.
A lot of whys,
A lot of whys.
and and all sorts of questions, and they do get to ask a lot. And it's true, but it's very important to actually keep this characteristic as an adult as well, because if you're not open to learning, you cannot progress. You cannot optimize anything in your life. And if you ask me, that's the purpose of life, to optimize whatever you can processes with yourself so that you can serve others better. We are here for others, not just for ourselves here. And I would recommend everybody to keep an open mind to learning, because that's what I do. I still learn. And curiosity is a key, actually, to developing that growth mindset. And children have it. So that's one of the most valuable things. But another one is definitely kindness, because I would see them, like getting into their little arguments or quarrels with friends, and rarely I would need to interfere or having an adult interfere, because the way that they're doing it is much more kind, I have to say, than what I've been seeing in workplaces or anywhere else. Because I think that they still understand what respect means and respecting another child. And I'm not talking about quarreling or arguments with adults, but when they're little, they still respect that friend that they're in the argument with. And I love that. Seriously, it amazes me. So
I mean, you're spot on with that as well, because kids are just, they're natural at being accepting and trying to understand, because they have an open mind, right, to hear the perspective of their peers. Versus when we grow older, we're just so bombarded by different messaging that we are so set in our ways that, God forbid, somebody comes and offends that little piece of information we have in our minds, or that perspective, we go into that defense mode. While kids, they're still so fresh and they are so open-minded. I love that.
Think that as we grow up, we tend to be more into our own things and absorbed into our own lives and ambitious and everything. But we stopped being curious, and I've seen that being a case, but not when I was flying, because it's important to be curious about other people, about your team members, about new opportunities, about your clients, about your customers, because these were the places where I learned most about, when I was curious, when I asked questions. And then I got to find out something that was never on my mind that I will find out at that moment. But that's what an open mind brings us. But I think generally living and working in other countries changes your perspective and changes what you knew before. And you get to exposed to new ways of living and thinking. And that's good, because then you actually have this chance to see what you have that's working for you and what's not working for you. And maybe there is a better way of dealing with things in your life that you get to learn from others. But just to mention one more thing about children, and one more thing that I admire about them is their flexibility. And I have to mention this because when we're talking about resilience and everything, children can teach us a lot. And why I'm saying this, because living in Dubai being, let's say, a temporary home to many here, and I've seen a lot of my students actually so far moving to other countries, going back home, leaving. But how they're dealing with these situations, their flexibility and resilience is what we can learn from them either. So they are much more flexible, and they adjust to these big life changes, I think, easier and with less complaint, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can learn so much from kids, honestly, when it comes to resilience. And it just got me to thinking now of just, what is it that we can do better, I guess, as educators, as, I don't know, parents. I'm not a parent, but, what can we do better to make sure that we don't lose this sense of curiosity, this, ability to ask questions, and, and when somebody asks us questions, we don't get offended, or we don't go into, kind of feel uncomfortable. And part of it is cultural. So some cultures are a little bit more open to actually kind of asking the what and the why 5 times plus, right? Versus others. But I'm curious. That's a question for the audience, for those that are educators, is what is it that we can do? So between, when you're school age, or, elementary school kid, and by the time you go into corporate, you don't lose this sense of curiosity, this sense of, kindness and acceptance of others. Yeah.
I would like to hear from our audience. I would like to hear from others on this point. It's a great question, Elena. Definitely, I would say we have the responsibility ourselves to keep ourselves open to new opportunities, to keep our mind open, and to keep ourselves busy, learning new things, or even doing the same thing in a different way, learning another way to do the same thing. And of course, education system can help a lot with it. And even now we are open to, I think, make mistakes and to learn from them. We are not afraid to make mistakes. Our children are not afraid to make mistakes. Why? Because they understand that that's the process of learning. So being open to it is what encourages as well curiosity. Then if there are no consequences, then you're going to be more open to doing it next time, or on in another way. One of the ideas as well.
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear that from our audience also. That's a question. Let's see what they come up with. Listen, where can people find you? Where can they connect you if they have any questions about, some of your experiences of what you're doing with the well-being resilience space?
Thank you. I would like to stay connected to whoever was here. I hope you're enjoying this chat with us. So you can find me on hrandwellbeing.com, contact details there. You can just send us a message anytime, and I would be happy to talk to you, to answer any of your questions, or if you have suggestions, I would like to hear it as well.
Great. And I'll share all the links accordingly, of course, so you guys can access them. Listen, thank you so much, Anna. Honestly, it's been a really nice conversation, and you got me to thinking, actually. You got me to thinking, and again, to feel concerned, because I feel that there is such a gap between, the school age of, us being in school age and then kind of going into corporate. And I'm just really, really curious of what we can do to not close the gap, but to avoid making the gap bigger, I guess, in terms of who we become as people, the skills that we have innately in us, like kindness and resilience and curiosity, and how do we not lose that? Because I'm starting to think it's not a skill you develop, it's a skill you actually probably have many of these skills, and they're just somehow lost and discouraged along the way. So
thank you. I will just want to point out one more thing. Resilience is a skill that is learned, transferable skill. So we can all learn it. Why? Because it's partially we all have it to some extent, all of us. So it's just how you're going to practice it. Mm-hmm. And also to close this gap, what's important and what resilience actually is teaching us, be present, be focused. It teaches us focus and being present, because only then you can notice things around you. You can notice new opportunities or something coming your way. And that's how you can ask the right questions when it's time. Not to be too self-absorbed or self-centered. Resilience is a great skill to actually have professionally and personally.
Beautiful. Well, it's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for your time, Anna. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you, Anna.
I look forward to the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I loved it and I enjoyed it. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.